stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this opportunity that we have to assemble. We ask that you would bless this meeting, bless the staff, the commissioners, as items come before this board. We pray, Lord, for your vision and infinite wisdom to bless this city as we look forward to effective community development. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Pastor DJ.
I was ordained a priest many years ago.
Madam Secretary, roll call is in, please.
Commissioner Trumbull.
Here.
Commissioner Hogan.
Absent.
Commissioner Connery. Here. Vice Chair Macedonia.
Here.
Chair Creighton.
Here. All right, so can I get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on the consent calendar, we have multiple meeting minutes. Is there any issues from the public regarding past minutes? You have 3 minutes and 2 seconds to get up. Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve previous minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve previous minutes. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't know
why we're missing the top. They just cut it off.
All right, so tonight's agenda is not very long. Planning Secretary, any reports of late communications?
We do have one late communication. It's in regards to action item number 1. Action item number 1 was not included with the agenda package. It was emailed today at 4:36 to the Planning Commission meeting. And that's the only late communication.
Thank you. For reference, that's the supporting documentation for what we're going to be talking about tonight.
That is the staff report, correct?
Jim,
Okay.
will that be visible so we can see what you guys see as well?
A summation.
Is there an extra
can-
copy there?
Yeah, we can make copies real quick. Yeah. I'll make copies real quick. Here, Matt.
Press on with public business from the floor. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission only on items not on the agenda tonight. Each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak. Is there anybody that has anything they'd like to say?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Matt. Just brief overview. On February 6th, there was a meeting here in the chambers on the issue of the tiny homes, and I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Creighton for being there, Mr. Macedonia for being there, staff. Mayor was present, Sienna Lynn, City Manager, a couple of public members were there, Ms. Macedonia was there. Christy Munt and Mariah Dotson, as I recall. Marie was there also. And I thought that the chairman of the commission and the mayor had really excellent engagement. I think the information that was presented was very meaningful in terms of a vision for tiny homes, in terms of a purpose for tiny homes. Discussion about actually the critical issues of having power to these tracts or not having power, and what land use is actually possible in the future. And I thought that each person there really gave meaning to this discussion group. The result of that meeting, as I understand, is that what was recommended by the commission will go forward to the city council for further discussion. And Mr. Creighton, I remember you making a very important point that Marie made mention to me, is that you'll ask for discussion on tract locations, possibly not in the agenda item in terms of action, but possibly looking for direction. So I really valued that conclusion. I just wanted to acknowledge each of you for the past several months. There's been a lot of banter in the community, and I think that we're moving in the right direction, and you guys have been very helpful in terms of what's possible for the city. So just an acknowledgement of your work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Seeing none, let's move on to action item number 1. The one and only item we have on for tonight.
Yes,
The action item is regarding the adoption of an ordinance, which we won't do, but for the accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. Staff, it's your turn.
Yes. Chairman Creighton, members of the commission. As was duly noted, this will be a discussion item only. We will recommend that you take action on this item at your next meeting, which I believe will be the third
That will be canceled.
Tuesday in March.
Oh, yeah, right.
Let me finish the sentence. Third,
St. Patty's Day.
Welcome back.
exactly. You can wear your green shirt then, Commissioner Macedonia.
There's somebody drinking green
yeah.
beer.
So on March 17th, we would recommend that you,
okay, yeah, I'll make sure I do.
that we have a public hearing.
Do we have the green beer being served? Okay.
Did you ever see
Fire chief bring that.
in Chicago, they turn the Chicago River green on.
Yeah, my son lives there. My stepson lives there.
So, this item actually was the formal draft ordinance that we handed out at about 4 o'clock tonight. We do apologize for that. Was actually prepared by one of our assistant city attorneys. And it's something that all the cities and counties in the state of California are having to contend with. And essentially that is that the state has relaxed the requirements on accessory dwelling units and second dwelling units. If you look at areas such as the Bay Area, Los Angeles County, housing is at such a premium right now. Housing costs have gone up, and it's very, very hard. I mean, some people equate the homeless issue to a lack of housing. There's a whole bunch of factors that contribute to that, but the reality is that the cost of rental housing is extremely high, and the state finally stepped in. And while cities like ours have allowed secondary housing units, a lot of times there's a lot of strings attached. One common one, we'll go through some of these, but there's a minimum 20-foot setback in the rear yard. Well, a lot of yards just aren't set up so that you have space to put in a second dwelling unit. So, this is related. You can have a tiny home, can be a second unit, but all tiny homes are not. There's something about all animals. Horses have 4 legs. A horse is an animal, but all animals don't necessarily have 4 legs, as we know. What we mean by that is a tiny home can certainly be a second unit, but it's not necessarily always going to be a second unit. And to that end, we'll just talk first about, Let's talk first about AB 68, one of the state bills. Specifically talks about junior accessory dwelling units. And what differentiates junior accessory dwelling units from accessory dwelling units is, of course, junior accessory dwelling units are attached or within an existing unit. And they have set a limit of no more than 500 square feet. You must have your own kitchen facilities, that there are no owner occupancy requirements. This is an
Wait a
example.
minute, hold on. JADUs do have an owner occupancy requirement.
Yes, they do.
For
I'm sorry.
the next 5 years.
Right. So, here's an example of an accessory dwelling unit that is not attached, it's freestanding. And Assembly Bill 881 actually paved the way for accessory dwelling units. You must allow accessory dwelling units in all residential and mixed zone districts. You have some cities in the state, it's called snob zoning, where effectively they do not allow accessory dwelling units. Or if you were gonna have them, it would be with so many strings attached that it almost made it impossible to move forward. Accessory dwelling units, they wanted to cut down on bureaucracy and red tape, and so part of the rules and regs, if somebody comes to the counter, the city staff, planning and building has to approve these requested units within 60 days, just not to take an inordinate amount of time. The city may not require a minimum lot size, and we've talked about this in Cal City. It would not be uncommon if you take these assembly bills to the full extent. It would not be uncommon to have 2 accessory dwelling units on one lot. And the city may only require, that's because the city code require 4-foot side yards and rear yards, rather than the conventional 20-foot minimum setback in the rear. No owner occupancy is required through 2025. Possible owner occupancy after 2025. Staff would recommend that the Planning Commission approve a resolution recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance. Now, in your packet tonight, we have the draft ordinance for the City Council. And so it's relatively minor task, but the staff will prepare a resolution for the Planning Commission that effectively will recommend that that the council adopt the ordinance. As was noted, the Planning Commission only received the draft 4 o'clock this afternoon. We believe, does everybody have a copy here at the meeting, or do we have copies available? Yeah, if anybody wants to follow along, because we're just gonna recommend that we go through the ordinance to the council. And essentially, to tell you the truth, we don't have a lot of leeway. I mean, what's in the draft ordinance for the city council to adopt to make the law of the city of California City is all preordained by the state legislation. I don't believe Barron, our attorney, did anything that was not in keeping with state law. I'm sure he did.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
Exactly. So, do you want to take it beginning with the section by section? It's all pretty boilerplate.
Well, given that commission really hasn't had a chance to digest everything in this, I glanced at it. And I think there's a couple of questions I have, but I'd rather go back through it and read it more completely. I do want to hear from the public, but what I would recommend is that planning department receive questions from public regarding the ordinance. And then before we do the public hearing on the resolution, have those questions answered by the city attorney. I don't know, because since we haven't had a chance, we can't ask the city attorney what's going on and why certain things are in there, but if you could compile all the questions, say you'll give it a week and a half, and then send them to them, and then prior to, or put the answers in the staff report for the public hearing? How's that
Yes.
sound? I mean, unless of course somebody's a speed reader and can digest this entire thing, I think it's like 20 pages, or 12.
Yeah.
The ordinance itself is 12 pages.
This is 12 pages on both sides.
Well, you have the staff report too,
Oh, okay.
but then the ordinance itself is, I think, 12 pages long.
I actually read the new state law that came out, it's required reading basically. And when the Housing Development Corporation brought it out, dated January 10, 2020. I read through the entire thing and went through the legislative code, and what I don't see in here is lot requirement size. Most of our lots are small in size, and most of the houses fill up those lots, so when somebody tries to put an ADU in there or a JDU, they're not gonna have much of a room to grow. So my concern would be that if you're putting these in the back of homes or anything, I could see a she shed, all this old women think she sheds. But, you know, that's how I equate these two. But how
What
do you-
is a she shed?
It's a woman place.
It's a commercial.
You have to be a girl in it.
Sounds very derogatory.
It's a woman place. But what I'm saying is, most of these, I would think that there would be a proper zone in the city, not in all of our neighborhoods. Because most of our neighborhoods, the houses take up pretty much the lot size itself.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, so that would just limit the size of your ADU. So if you have to keep within the 4-foot parameters setbacks, so that's the only thing in there, and that's, so the other thing that the new state laws, the bills do, is they strip the city of its power to regulate it in an area. So that's why it says any residential or mixed use with residential in it, now it must adhere to this new code.
okay.
The only way we can, what I'm reading, the only way we can deny this is because of water, sewer, transportation, and public safety. So, there literally, and there are no setbacks. Literally no setbacks on these, so,
Well, 4 foot put a lot.
yeah, 4 foot, I can barely squeeze in 4 feet.
That's utility easement / fire. So.
I'd like to see a firefighter, full gear, going through a 4 foot opening. Not really gonna be that easy.
No.
There is some administrative stuff at the end. Denise's name is spelled wrong. We're in the county of Orange, we're in the county of Kern, not Orange. The year should be 2020, yada, yada, yada. Look at the very last page of the ordinance. Why does it require a 4/5 vote?
I was wondering the same thing, Joe, now we'll
An
find out.
ordinance doesn't require a 4/5 vote. So,
Only you know why? I'm willing to bet you that for some reason, our attorneys consider this an urgency ordinance that had to be passed. And the staff was saying, we don't see the urgency.
yeah,
If
I
our
couldn't
current,
see it either.
if our current code is out of date, it's so be it, it's out of date.
By law, we have to go by state. Okay,
We'll change that.
if commissioners have no further questions at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the public for any comments. You have 3 minutes, not a dialogue, you make a statement.
Okay. Hello, Silver Far. Surprise, surprise. Are these for the purpose of being rentals or for the owner's use?
Yes, both.
Which,
Yes
both?
to both.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a R1 lot
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's
with a rental on it. Wouldn't that make it R2?
No.
No,
So the-
R2 is based on size.
And the state also stripped away from cities allowed to, we can't condition owner
It's a
occupancy.
fine thing for them to do to us.
Every state.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Somebody is telling you what can and can't be. So what's the purpose of having a R1 lot anymore?
So based on R1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all based on size, density.
Yeah, but
Okay, because when I see auxiliary dwelling unit, that
Not
means
auxiliary,
it's for the
accessory.
home,
It's
not,
accessory.
oh,
not auxiliary.
okay, well, an accessory. It's for the home.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware this was gonna be for rentals, I wouldn't want that. Okay,
yeah,
okay, well, that was
It's the owner's
just
call.
a clarification.
The only thing it does state that they can't be rented for less than 30 days. Has to be 30
Oh,
days.
so no Airbnb type
Yep.
units then. Oh, well, that'd be good to know. Okay, all right, well, thank you, that was it.
DJ Tuig, just really commentary. We obviously don't need ADUs in California City. When they crafted this law, they weren't trying to please us. But there are jurisdictions, obviously, that have an immense need for housing. Our need is to attract working families, workers, creators that will come into the city and bring us a labor pool, an educated labor pool, a skilled workforce. That's our need. ADUs does not solve that problem for us. Just commentary. So appreciate you bringing this forward. We're learning more each time. And I had the same administrative notes. With respect to the comment from Silver about R1 and R2, this does impede upon the benefits of having an R1. And so there are many communities that are going to be up in arms. The one thing I didn't know is there any restrictions allowed in property owners association, or will that all probably go to courts and courts of appeals?
You mean under an HOA type thing? I did not see anything, and when I was reading the new law when it came out, I didn't see anything about HOAs.
Because just assuming in the litigious society that we're in, that HOAs are probably going to take this to court. In particular neighborhoods where they're set up for this protection. And so they're probably going to be well heeled, and we'll see that come through the pipe probably. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Karen Macedonio. Just something to think about as we're having these conversations. Between TV and conversations in the community and people that have come to buy houses here, we have some houses that are not lived in that are used for storage for off-road vehicles, that they don't have to haul their equipment out here, they have it in a room. There was a conversation where somebody said, I want to have a big place to have my toys. And then there was an episode on TV of a man that was restoring cars that had a large steel building. And inside that building, he brought in a container, and that became his dwelling unit inside the unit. So that's just something I'd like to have you think about as you're looking about this, because we do have off-road people coming out here and storing their stuff. So maybe we need to think uniquely as to what could bring people out here to store their toys and have a place to stay, and maybe that would bring other people and other things going on.
The new law states that it has to follow local building code. The construction of an ADU has to follow local building codes.
But the building codes are ours, correct?
Building codes are ours, and in certain zones, certain residential zones, containers aren't allowed. I'd love to put a container in my yard, but I can't.
But I'm not talking about just a container. I'm talking about a container that was changed into a
understand.
dwelling unit. Anyway, it's about,
I get it, so it's not seen, so it's out of sight, out of mind. But as a dwelling, unless, can't stop that.
no, and I'm not talking about stopping it. I'm just talking about in a bigger picture, is there a way that we can incorporate lots of these things that are going on around the outside and turn it to our benefit in the midst of all the things that we have to do? So that's the only reason I was asking.
What I would recommend is when this comes out to the public, for us to do the resolution, definitely voice your concerns at the public hearing.
We should do
Thank you.
design.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, commissioners, anything come to mind?
Just having a sidebar conversation. The issue of design standards just came up. Now, right now, there are no design requirements in single-family home districts.
Well, there is, you can't have metal sides, so if you wanted to put a container, you could.
That I'm not familiar with, how to develop an ADU. I compared it to the possibility of having the tiny home ordinance, which hopefully includes the smaller homes. And just in looking at that, the math, the pro forma, the return on our investment, I see as being much greater in a smaller home district or a tiny home district than having rented out an ADU. Why? In the possibility of having a tiny home district, you have your own land. And so you have your own yard and you have that privacy. Where if I slam an ADU in the back of my duplex, you know, talk about putting people in tight quarters. And so, and I think that was Ms. Conry's perspective as well, is this is putting people in tight quarters. So the math, the pro forma is so much better in the tiny home district. That's where we're gonna put our energy. We're not gonna be slamming ADUs together as rentals. There's no need for it. There's 47,000 vacant lots. And if we get a few areas that can do tiny homes, it'll be great opportunities to give them a privacy of their own dwelling, whether it be a tiny home or smaller home. And I think that's really the sweet spot for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want a second term? Okay, up here for final decision.
I remember when you applied, I showed up at your house. I thought you were crazy. It worked out fine for you. I have nothing.
Yeah, I had to merge my lots in order to put that shed up there. City ordinance doesn't allow you to put up a shed if you don't have a dwelling on it. Ridiculous. But anyway. So, how do we want to, oh, I'm sorry, if you had something. Nothing further, anybody?
The only thing I have to say is, and I think probably even DJ will agree with me, that the ADUs really are not applicable up here in Cal City. We got way too much land to worry about having people live in a garage or something like that, or in the back of a house. That applies to LA, San Francisco, places that are congested with people. We don't have that problem, thankfully, not yet. Hopefully never, but maybe yes in the future. Anyhow, that's all I have to say.
I'm gonna throw out a recommendation. As soon as I finish writing it. And then we can, if nobody else has any recommendations on what we should do. My recommendation is for staff to accept questions from commissioners and the public regarding the content of the ordinance until 9 March. Send the questions to the city attorney and include questions and answers in the staff report for the public hearing on 17 March. If anybody has any other ideas, or if that's a good consensus, then that will be the direction we'll go. I mean, we can't not pass this. We still have to put it in our code, and we have to change our own code to.
Incidentally, we can send we've been getting very good coverage from the press. For some reason, they're not.
Yeah, I know.
But we will, what you just said, we will inform the press of that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
from March 4th to 6th, and I will be leaving Tuesday afternoon and returning late Friday, March 6th. Please note I have travel packages for each commissioner for your review and use. Thank you.
The other item on the list is the planning project list.
Yes.
Okay, I got a couple of questions regarding that. If, on your new projects, you have, project number 20-01, it's a zone change for the city of California City. What's that all about?
That's the one we were talking about squaring off. Just wanted to put that under there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it, all right.
Is that Northwest 17?
I'm not sure the number. It's the one on the what we talked about last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Manderburg.
All right, great. And then at the very end of that list, under zone changes, you got 19-14 and 19-15 for 8-minute solar. This is the project to the southwest that we've discussed in the past?
It's in 2 locations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the one that's LADWP is getting all the energy.
right, yeah. And wasn't some of that in Kern County?
Yes,
Okay.
we have a meeting with the county tomorrow to go over the EIR proposals from 3 firms. So yeah, that's moving forward.
Okay. If
But
anybody-
you know, it's important enough that we will bring these projects to the planning commission for an informal direction. One of them concerns me, and that's the property right, on Highway 58. What's the local street?
Oh, Atlas. Well, that's the one in the county, but Honda IKEA Boulevard.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they're showing property in the city of Cal City
Mhm.
for solar. And in my humble opinion, it has a higher and a better use than solar fields. So,
That's why we have public hearings. Go ahead.
Just looking for some status. Last year, the commissioner asked staff to discuss South Loop and the possibility of doing a zone change along South Loop. The principal at Espresso Boulevard Coffee also made mention to me that he'd like to support that along South Loop Boulevard. And so I'm looking for status or consensus if we'll be bringing that back as a possible discussion or action for zone change. South Loop Boulevard, question 1. Question 2, also, as you're squaring off boundaries, commission directed staff to bring back A, B, and D. C, the area that we wanted to promote as C, actually has already been zone changed. But with respect to the original A, B, and D, A and B has been done, but there's been no action yet. You have discussion, but no action on D. And so I'm looking for status if we're going to hear that in the next month or so.
We can put that on the agenda.
And then possibly discussion on South Loop Boulevard.
DJ, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
Regarding South Loop and the fact that at the far end on Cal City Boulevard, we have the coffee shop going on.
Right.
But all along there, we have a couple of churches.
Right.
We have do you want to rezone it so that it can be all residential or commercial or?
The existing zone is RM2 and R1, as I recall. They're color coded on the map. Along South Loop Boulevard, on the southern side, I believe the northern side is commercial. And so when you look to the north from the main boulevard, it's kind of they drive through there pretty fast. It's wide, it's like a runway.
So what do you want to do?
Well, I met with Sean and Matt maybe 8 months ago, and we were really open, I was certainly open to thoughtfulness. What is the best possible design there? I mean, I don't have any particular plan in mind, but I know with the Espresso Boulevard, you've got an attraction there. And so if you wanted to enhance that area, I think it's very possible right now. Something I think is of interest is there is an alley behind those properties fronting on South Loop. And so, boy, if we could utilize that alley as well, you know, it could be something of interest there. I know you have grand ideas about, I don't know what kind of parking you call that, but street parking
Diagonal.
On South Loop,
on
Yeah,
South.
there's a lot of similarities between Cal City Boulevard and that little section right there. So that area could serve as a potential gateway.
It really, really could.
Because there's no, the way I think of it, there's no Aspen Mall there to catch anybody. You kind of just go straight in, past the hotel to the Dollar General.
And if we could get a land donation on the north side corner, I think it'd be a brilliant spot, Sean,
Yeah.
to donate an airplane.
Oh,
Because it's just the entrance to the city. And man, that would really draw people's eye. If you're sitting in the coffee shop, that would be kind of cool. So if you could incorporate all that vision that I know you've been working on, man, what a great spot to do that. And in full disclosure, I have a lot on the far other corner. So I just make mention of that because we have no particular plan,
Tortoise.
but however,
but you wanna change the zoning on that street.
that block
oh,
is what I'm
What do
suggesting,
you wanna change it to,
commercial.
bigger.
even though there are homes along
There are no homes there.
there, on South Loop?
In this particular block,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I
very few on South Loop,
homes on South Loop.
way far
before you
away.
get to Hacienda.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a little off track here, gentlemen. If you want to take this off a little
No,
offline?
that's why I asked you if I could
Okay.
ask you a question.
Thank you
Yeah,
for your time.
Now we're going,
Okay.
revenue.
So just looking for status, if we're gonna bring this back and for discussion.
And then one for clarification, what was the land you said you want to bring back? Were you talking about A, B, and D? We skipped C, which one was that?
C
C's
was
been done,
20 Milton.
so now I guess
Oh, right, okay,
let's look at D.
okay.
Okay, at this time, commissioner items and comments. Commissioner Trumbull.
Anything new on the Cal City Boulevard?
We'll have a report for you at your next meeting, an update.
That's all I
Commissioner Connery.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Macedonia.
have. Nothing, thank you.
I got one thing. Anybody who's come into Cal City from the 14 at night, take a look at where Cactus Market is. This ties, oh seriously,
Yeah, no, you're.
this ties right into what we're talking about as far as making it look better. They painted the entire building a single color. They got LED lights bordering the entire top. And at night, it looks really, really nice. So maybe that should be a partial focus item on the corridor study. Say, here's what you can do, and it doesn't cost that much.
That's true.
If you can get somebody in that mall over there, that's Aspen Mall, get somebody over there to start doing stuff like that, it might just benefit us.
Yeah, but I think regarding the Cactus Market and that Victory Plaza, I think it
Yeah.
is, whatever it's called, it's owned by one person.
Yeah, I know,
So
and
they
Aspen,
can,
yeah, it's
you know,
got
they
10
can
different
choose
owners.
to paint the whole thing, but where you have, with the Aspen Mall, you got 9,000 people in there owning.
Anyway,
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a good
thought.
idea,
I
but
saw it and I was really impressed.
Yep.
So, for a place that doesn't have a real good reputation, I was really impressed with what it looks like.
at night.
So, also since there was I guess, not to bring the mood down, but there was a pedestrian fatality over there in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So, talking to KernCog, they actually have safety money to provide us with a crosswalk right in front of that bus stop. So, that should be, hopefully coming.
Crosswalk.
Yeah, we'll work with them.
Over by the Victory Plaza?
That's a
bad That's- spot. You gotta put a light over there or something.
Right.
Put a light.
Cause that's just.
Yeah, it is
people-
That's a high-speed takeoff and
Yeah,
landing
people
area
don't-
right now.
People don't slow
Still,
down and they.
Even though it changes the speed limit to 45,
They could change it to 10, it wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah.
A few years ago, there was also a pedestrian killed in that area,
Yes, yes,
you
just
know,
a few months ago.
and what they need is a blinking light, like, Erica, I believe Brian,
Yeah,
set up
they-
a blinking light when it's solarized,
Mhm.
and then put it down in that area because it's dark, you know.
And we'll get streetlights out there too, but we'll be working with the county and regional government on that. and
Go for an
so-
intersection.
It's like they always say, the people who obey the laws are gonna obey the law. And the ones that aren't, it doesn't matter what you put up there, they're not gonna pay attention. You know, I mean, I go down that road a lot, at least once a week, sometimes more. And somebody's always passing me, and I'm going along about 65, 66, 67, you know, I try not to push it, and they just go by like, you know, and they don't, the signs are posted, you know, 55, turn on your lights, 90% of the people don't turn on their lights, and the other 90% go as fast as they want. So,
Yeah.
it's a great idea.
All right. Does anybody else have anything from up here? All right, with nothing further, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned, folks. Thank you all for your time.
So, I was gonna say.
You are seeing